Clip at your side. Everyone that we've done this with, is not one person hasn't smiled when they've done this. So, episode 1. Gavin, first of all, and I've thanked you already, but thank you for coming down to talk to us.
Pleasure.
As you know, we wanted to get you in first. I've been at I'm a member of the gym. I've known you in and around the gym, but your story and your growth was something I really want to talk about. So thank you very much for joining us and coming to experience our circus that currently is our podcast. If you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of introduction to yourself and just the briefest of introductions to you and the gym.
Okay, so I'm Gavin, owner of GWD Performance. We're specialise in personal training, so small group PT. A little bit different to your normal run-of-the-mill gym. People come to us to be coached, to be held accountable at a high level, and ultimately get results. So we're a little bit more than a normal gym, cost-wise. So it's not a gym that's going to give you a membership card and then leave you to it. We're more of a coaching facility.
Yeah, and I can personally say that I've been a member of the gym for, I think, 9 months. It's the only gym that I've gone to consecutively. For a couple of reasons. The accountability to me is huge. It's I'm accountable to my coach who he messages me and keeps up to date, and I have to book it in and I have to go, and I feel awful if I don't. And the space is just like nothing I've experienced in any other gym before. So I'm a big advocate. So that's one tick in the easy box for the podcast.
Good to hear.
But I think for me, I want to just go in a little bit deeper in terms of you and your story. I know sort of snippets about you and how you've kind of got to where you are. Just as some subject around our podcast, it's all about people that want to start a business, grow a business, scale a business, or sell a business. It's a minefield, as I'm sure you'd agree, that running your business it is a minefield. There's no one size fits all.
No.
So I kind of want to understand why you started and sort of what triggered in your head to make the decision before even looking at it and doing the research. What trigger was there? Right, this is time to go and do this.
To actually open the site that we have now.
Yeah.
I think we had got to a point where, because before I opened this site, I was just a personal trainer. I think this is the journey for most people in my position. Start out as a coach, passionate about what you do, end up getting busy, end up normally being the best PT in whatever commercial gym you work in. You then move on to an independent space, which I did, rented out of there, built a business, had got some really good corporate contracts at that point. And I felt like I'd outgrown where I was and I was ready to open my own site. We found the site we're in now in January 2020. So the ball was rolling for us to start, and then obviously everyone knows what happened then. The zombie apocalypse came in. The world went absolutely batshit crazy, and COVID happened. So we was due to open sort of May 2020, and then obviously everything was delayed. We ended up opening the site in May 21, so 1 year later.
Stressful year for you.
Very stressful, but also I think when I look back now, the making of us, I believe. Like we took a lot of positives from it, and during that time, there was a moment when I'd had a dream of opening my own gym. There was a period where I thought it will never happen, and then I found the courage to do it. It did take a bit of courage. Right, I'm going to open my own gym. I thought it was going to happen, and then I thought COVID had took it away. So I think I was at a stage where, like, for a period of time, I think my mental health suffered a little bit. If I look back and be honest now. But I had some mentors around me that told me that things would come good again, kept me on course, and I ended up opening it. And it's been a success, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a few things there. I think, firstly, COVID was a very difficult time for a lot of people, and I think that's business and personal.
Yeah.
I'm just to think on that, my mental health was very difficult because I need to be around people. I need that. And I started my business then, but I wasn't in a position where you were, where I'd found a space and all that stuff was happening. But I think, to your point, when something gets taken away from you, you want it even more, don't you? So just on the thought of, so you had a space that you were working from.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people struggle with in their head is, when is the right time? So you said it was right time for you to go and do your own thing, but you had work, you were busy, you had clients, you had other stuff going on. There's a gamble there, right? What happens if I could stay comfortable, or I could take a big risk and kind of go it alone, properly alone.
Yeah.
What was your thought process in the decision to take that leap?
So at that point, we had some relatively lucrative-ish corporate contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd sort of took my foot off the gas a little bit with the personal training side of things. And then I had a bit of a realization that I was like, well, I'm not really putting the effort in this side of the business. So I was like, I need to put myself against the wall, back against the wall, come out swinging type mentality. So I was like, right, we need to open our own gym. We need to push this on. At that stage, I had 2 employees then. And I was like, right, we need to push this on now. So I actively started looking. I'd said to myself I was looking for a space for a while. I wasn't really.
Right.
As soon as I sort of had that switch in my head to say, right, now we're going to look for a space, I found where we are now. And then obviously, you know what happened with COVID.
So I think that's a really good thought. Like, I'm very much the same. I need pressure. I need that I can get comfortable. But for me to do the things that I do, there needs to be pressure.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing that gives more pressure than bills to pay and people that rely on you and people that need you to do your job.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. You've come to you've come out of COVID.
Yeah.
Tough time, and the doors open. What was your process of? So you had you had a couple of members of staff.
Yep.
So there's a couple of things you had to do. You had to recruit more people.
Mm-hmm.
You had to find members, and you had to make sure that the members are happy and the staff were happy. So there's kind of a lot. It's not just building the space that you're happy with.
No.
There's a lot working out at once.
Yeah.
How did you work through that process of, okay, I made the decision, got the place, now what?
If I'm being completely honest with you, when I found the space, I hadn't really thought that far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a case of, right, I've got the space. I was probably a little bit naive in what the task ahead was going to be.
Right.
Found the space, and then it was sort of like we've already had this conversation off air, like, as a business owner, a lot of what you're doing is winging it.
Yeah.
And I was almost of the mentality that, what's the film, Field of Dreams? If you build it, they will come type mentality.
Yeah.
Let's just get this ball rolling and then we'll work out the rest from there. So very naive at that stage as a business owner as to what the task was going to entail.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a case of, let's get this location sorted and then we'll build from there.
Work it out from there.
We'll work it out from there. And that's been ongoing for nearly 4 years now.
Yeah. So I think, again, member of the gym, I can talk honestly about this.
Yeah.
You filled the gym quite quickly, didn't you? You kind of got a lot of, you got people on trial and then
100 pre-sales we had for the trial, which is in our type of gym, because it's a bit more expensive, is bloody good going. Yeah. When I look back now.
I think that is very good going. I think we'll talk about how many people at those stage, which I think that was a very high number. But I think that you say you're winging it, but that's such a approach that people don't kind of follow. It's you were building it and it wasn't finished by the time people have signed up already.
No.
So you're testing your market, really testing your market before you kind of open the doors.
Yeah.
And I think testing your market, understanding your market, and is this something people are going to want, is a really important thing to do before you were kind of already pretty deep in it. But you're still testing the market, right? Yeah.
So we was originally based in Bedford, and then we moved to a village called Marston Mortain, which I didn't even know anything about, if I'm honest, but the unit ticked all the boxes.
Yeah.
So it was a massive gamble to come out of Bedford. I was thinking, like, are people going to come to this place? I don't really know much about it, but the unit, we'd been looking for that unit in Bedford for a long, long time. It just didn't exist. So we've had to move ourselves to that unit because that ticked all the boxes. So moving to a new location was a big risk. Now when I look back at it with a much wiser business head on, everything about it was right. All the ingredients were right. The location was right. the people around it, the demographic. But back then, I didn't know that. Now I do, obviously.
I think it's really good to be that honest. I think that running a business and doing it's all, like I said, you're winging it, but also reflection is so important, because you could just said, yeah, I knew what I was doing. This was the place. I saw it. I knew everyone would drive to me, and that was it. But there's an element of it is you've got to suck it and see, haven't you?
Yeah.
And just hope for the best in some things.
And I'll be honest, I was winging it a hell of a lot more than what I'm winging it now, to be honest.
And I think even your things you didn't think you were winging it at the time, you probably were in hindsight. Yeah. The things I thought I knew 3 years ago, I probably didn't know. You just sort of try your best. So you had that 100 people that signed up.
Yep.
I find that you've kind of given the big statement of this is what the gym's going to be. This is what it was a dream at that point in time, because it wasn't open, it wasn't finished, right?
No.
How did you find the people that what you were comfortable to deliver on your expectations and your dream? What was the recruitment process like?
So initially there was no recruitment process, because it was just me, Joe at the time, and Ryan. We were the only 3 employees there. So we were working like dogs, to be honest. We were working 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. in the trenches.
Wow.
Like initially when we opened. Then we got to a point where it was like, right, we need to hire. We were looking for 1 coach. Mm-hmm. We ran our first sort of interview day, if you like, and we ended up from that hiring 2 coaches, because there was 2 that were really good.
Right.
So I was like, right, we only need 1. We're going to hire 2, because eventually we're going to need 2.
Yeah.
And we just lucked out with hiring 2 really good coaches at that time. One of them's still with us now.
Right.
And yeah, that's where we was at that sort of stage. That was probably a month after being open.
Wow.
We did that. So for the first month to 6 weeks, it was just 3 of us. It was hard.
Chaos.
When I look back, and when you get into them situations, you think, how the hell did we do that?
Yeah.
But you just get through it at the time.
You're building your dream as well. And I think, at the time you were working crazy, but you were working for your dream, what you wanted to achieve. And you were, I'll say the word, lucky enough to have the people that believed. It's not luck, they believed in your dream, they believed in you and what you were. But there's an element of that, you find there are people at the right time that believed in you to do that with you, right? Yeah,
we had a good team, like really, really good team, who were like good coaches, believed in what we were trying to do. But I think also at that time, you got to remember, gyms had been hit pretty hard during COVID. Like our income was decimated. Like we just had enough to keep the guys going during COVID. Like literally, like just enough to pay everyone's wages. Because we had some online clients that had transitioned, or our corporate clients transitioned to online. So we still had income coming in. Without that, we'd have gone out of business.
Yeah.
So I think coming from that, everyone was prepared to really push, because they knew what we'd just been through.
Yeah.
So I think the ingredients from our side of things, from coaches and business that nearly went out of business. It was like, right, back's against the wall now. This has to be successful.
We know what can happen. We've seen what can happen.
Like, this has to be successful.
Yeah.
That was the mentality.
And your approach to how you've built the gym, everything is, I can imagine, very well thought through. You can see it when you walk in there. It's well thought through. Everything's there's nothing worse than walking into a gym and it's all tired equipment, and the cables are just they're going to go at any point. The little pins that you move the weights from, there's got none of the. It's all, you see what I mean, all falling apart. You don't get that vibe at all.
No.
So, what was your thought process of how you're going to approach to build this gym?
Again, initially very naive as to what it would cost, building wise. But I wanted it to look good, like to the level that we could do it to. We can't compete on fit out costs with clubs like David Lloyd's and places like that, but we can do it to our level within our budget to make it look nice.
Yeah.
We are a personal training coaching facility, so people are paying us more money than they would for a normal gym. So to the max of what we can spend, we wanted to do that to the best level we could, basically.
Yeah.
Wanted people to have a good experience when they came in, and we wanted to make sure that the equipment was good and that they came out getting what they needed from it.
Yeah, for sure. And you do feel that. Again, because it's a personal training gym, you don't need the sort of machinery that you'd get at your standard gym.
No.
but everything feels well thought out and well. You wouldn't believe that it was on. You were winging it, to be honest with you.
No.
That's not the approach that you get. But it's very well put together. And then what was really important to me and what I felt from my trial process was the culture that you get there. I'm quite obviously not the biggest bloke in the world. Going to gyms before, I've always felt uncomfortable, or I knew what I wanted to do, didn't feel comfortable going to do it, because there's always the massive guy next to me waiting for the machine that I'm on, and I'll kind of get off there quite quickly. The culture there isn't like that at all.
No.
How have you and your team created that? Because it's impressive that no one that I've spoke to feels like that.
Yeah, it's by design. So obviously we don't want to be one of those gyms where people are posing in the mirrors, earphones in, no one's speaking to you. You're not coming to us for that. You're coming to us to be coached, to be made to feel included, comfortable. So by design, like every touch point we have with our new guys coming in, we want them to feel comfortable. So just like as an example, when we know someone's coming in for their first visit, every coach, every team member knows that name of that person coming in. So you might walk past someone who's not even meeting you, and they'll say, "Oh, hey Jane, how you doing?" And you can see the surprise in a lot of the new guys coming in, like oh, every single person has said my name, because we're all connected on like diaries and shared software and stuff like that.
Such a good touch.
So things like that, like we put that into every team member so they'll know that person coming in, and those tiny little touch points make a big difference. And then we got a good coaching team. I'm obviously going to be very biased and say that we've got a very good product, and like the guys are very motivated to be the best coaches they can be, which is why they're in a gym like ours. You tend to get the better coaches are going to end up in an independent gym like GWD, and ultimately the product, I believe, is good.
Yeah, for sure. How the product didn't end up this good?
No.
What sort of processes have you gone through? I mean, you've got a lot of experience in being a PT. It's not something that you've just stumbled across.
No.
But the process, the programs, everything is clearly well designed. How long did it take you? What was the process of getting to a point where, okay, I'm happy with this now? I can imagine it's always moving and adjusting as well.
We're never completely happy with it. We're always refining, iterating. But from my background, I was one of the coaches that was doing every course you could imagine, trying to improve my own coaching. And I guess I've kind of instilled that into the team. And I don't think nowadays there's as many seminars, lectures, and like courses you can go to in person. So I used to network quite a lot with some really, really good coaches. Like some of these guys have gone on to be like very famous coaches.
Okay.
And I was at the same courses as them. And you don't really get that now. So with the team, I've tried to instill that sort of ethos within the team. And we've got a very good coaching team, as you know, because you've been there. And I don't know, I guess I've kind of instilled that culture into them to always want to improve. Like we're never the finished product, ever. We can always improve. And we do sit down as a team and go through member onboarding, the journey, the coaching, and always looking at ways that we can make it better. Like, because that is ultimately, you've got to have a white belt mentality in coaching. If you think you're the finished article in coaching, then you probably shouldn't be in coaching, to be honest.
Sure. And I think as well, within your gym, you've got a classroom that you guys sit down together and review stuff and go through stuff. And I've experienced that that your team don't just know the program they're currently talking you through. So just giving the picture, when you go for a PT session, you've got a maximum of 12 people, right?
Yeah, two groups of 6, two coaches.
And you've got a program that you're working through together, and they're into sections, so you've got different sections that work. So you talk through it way better than I can.
So basically, you'd have like your main lifts, like your A's, then you'll have accessories, like A's and B's would be main lifts. Accessories would be like your C stuff. And then, so for instance, squat or deadlift or something like that would be your first lift. You might have a secondary lift like a bench press. And then you might have some accessory lift like lunging, cable flies, press ups or something like that. And then a bit of conditioning at the end, something to get the heart rate up. And what was you going to ask me around that?
What I was going to say is that when you're in those sessions and you've got the person that's working with you, they clearly don't just know that session. In terms of, I remember having a conversation with Brendan where I said my back's sore and I'm finding this difficult. And he said, okay, well, you can try this, you can try this, you can try this. And he listed off 5 different stretches, 3 different ways of doing that stretch, just from his knowledge and his experience. So what I think is great about them is they don't just, and like you said, they care. It's not just we're doing this session, this is the session we're doing, and that's that.
Yeah, that's not the way we work. So basically, when people ask, how can it be personal training if it's in a group? That's a great question, because every person is an individual. So for instance, we've got guys with disabilities that we train that join the normal sessions that you join. But we have regressions that we can implement in if they can't do a specific movement. And for some of our guys with disabilities, they're effectively doing a completely different program to anyone else, but they're still integrated into that group setting because it's personal training within a group.
Yeah.
So we can adapt on any given day the whole program for you. If you came in with a bad back, you're not going to potentially do something that's going to aggravate it. We'll give you something that's going to help it. So we're personal training you as an individual, but you're just in a group setting, which makes it more cost effective. Now the guys will, because they're very good coaches, they'll have loads of exercises that they can give you at any given moment because they understand coaching inside out. We obviously have meetings just about regressions, meetings about injuries, meetings about an individual. So they'll be very well prepared outside of that session to be able to do that for you.
Yeah, you stole my question. My question was going to be exactly that. I mean, I've spoke to people, spoke to friends, I spoke to people about it, and then, well, how is it a PT session if there's 6 of you? And you articulated well better than I can, because it is that. It doesn't. I've never felt like I'm in a group. I felt like whoever it may be will come and, right, you need to lift that heavier. You need to just move you kind of, I don't know, you might be bending your back too much. You need to lift your head up. You need to be doing this, you need to do that. And my form has never been as good as it is now. My consistency, my improvement of everything that I'm doing. And sometimes I'm not lifting as heavy as I ever have done before, but I'm definitely feeling stronger because I'm doing things right. So it does feel like a PT session, but I've had PT sessions before and they're quite not intrusive. They're very intense when you've kind of just got one person looking at you, doing the thing that you're doing, and you kind of think it can be quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, so this is the way to look at it. I started out as a one-to-one PT, so that's what's allowed me to be where I am now. So I'm never going to bash one-to-one PT because that is, bread and butter of most coaches. However, for us to give you the stimulus you need to get results, if you was just coming to us one-to-one, you're going to pay a lot more money because obviously you're paying for the hour of that coach's time. You're probably not going to get the stimulus you need to get the best results because you've then got to go and do training on your own as well. So small group PT is a way for us to give you enough training stimulus where you're always being coached, still to a very good level, and you're still going to do the same program whether you're in the same group with 6 people or 1. Yeah. You're doing the same. You get that community and group feel where you're egging each other on, which a lot of people prefer to one-to-one because of what you said. Can be quite intense. It's just you and that person talking. And I remember back to my one-to-one days, a lot of the time you're almost like an agony aunt or agony uncle because you're being told things maybe family members have not been told, and there is that element to it as well. So whilst it's great, in my opinion, to give the stimulus needed to get proper results, small group PT now is a more superior product. Now, there's going to be situations where one-to-one is more beneficial, but for most people, it's not. Unless they want to pay loads more money and do the same training.
Yeah, I guess if they've got a very, very particular need for training for a certain thing. Yeah. But most people aren't. Aren't.
We've got athletes in the gym like that train at a very good level. We've got people with disabilities. Most people would assume that they need one-to-one. Well, they don't because we train them within our group setting. But you are getting one-to-one level coaching, but in a group setting.
For sure. So how long have you been at your current site?
So nearly 4 years now. We opened May the 4th, which was that Star Wars Day, isn't it? May the 4th, 2021. So we're coming up for our 4th birthday, which is absolutely crazy. It's gone so quick.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we literally opened as gyms were allowed to open. We were slightly delayed with the building. We were supposed to open about a week or so before, and then we ended up opening May the 4th, 21.
And there's the new one on the horizon.
Yeah, so exciting times. Stressful,
Stressful,
but
I can
exciting.
imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
So the process, you've got a gym that's 4 years old. It's flying. Great culture, great. Everything around it is going well. It's always busy. You've got loads of events that you go through that are busy. It's quite easy to say, I've made it, this is all good. So why are you going for another one? Do you just get bored and want to be stressed?
No, not, yeah. I mean, look, if you're a business owner and you're going to be opening the second location, you've got to be prepared for stress, because it is stressful. I'm not going to lie to you now. Like I'm going through a moment of stress. But for me, it's not really about money. It's about building a legacy. Like, I know that we can impact more people with more of these sites. And I know the thought process I went through when I opened site 1, like, we almost made it from my head, basically, the reality of what I knew would be a reality, with the way that the community would be, the level of coaching we'd provide, the team we're going to build. I'm now doing that again with site 2. I'm going to make that happen because there's no other option. And I want to build a legacy. I want people in years to come to look back and go, yeah, GWD, they were sick gyms.
Yeah, that was the place to be.
Yeah. And who knows where that'll end up. When you have a business, sort of your plans for 10-year plan, my 10-year plan was 10 gyms in 10 years. We're about to hit 4 years and we're going to have 2. So if I'm going to hit that, I've got some work to do.
Yeah.
But who knows where it's going to go. I want to keep going. We're not stopping at 2. We're already got our eye on site 3 of where that will be. We don't have anything concrete, but that's where we want to go as a business. We've got some big plans.
So the plans for site 2, is it a mirror image, or what's the thinking around the second one?
So not quite a mirror image. It's a smaller unit, so we can't build up like last time we built a mezzanine and all that sort of stuff. So the building costs should be much lower because the fit out is not going to be the same. Like site 1, we've went all out. This one, we're still going to do it to a high level, but obviously we can't build higher because there's a lower ceiling. We're going small group, so same model as at Marston, but just won't quite be with the yoga studio, the studios upstairs, the massage that we have, classroom. We haven't got any space for that, so it's like, this is the product, and that's it.
Okay.
As in,
what lessons have you learned from stage 1 to 2?
Site 1 to site 2.
Site 1 to site 2.
So I was very naive with the building costs of what it would cost last time. This time, I'm under no illusions what it's going to cost. I've tapped into my network very early on this time. So last time, I had a mentor that I'd trained for a while, who's very successful business owner in the building industry, and he helped me massively, gave me a bit of a leg up doing what I did, because I was, again, didn't understand like what it was going to cost. I was very, very naive. The same guy is helping me with the building at site 2. So his guys are in there building, managing it for me. And that's been a massive help for me, again, just to have someone that I know I can call on who wants me to be successful, but at the same time can take some of the things I don't really understand away. Because last time I was almost project managing site 1. And I probably aged about 5 years doing that. It was crazy. So this time we've got someone else doing that, and I'm just going over and overseeing, pretending I know what's happening.
Pointing around a little bit and saying, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think we've touched on it a little bit, but when you run a business and you have a business, I think there's sometimes this illusion or this thought that you have to do it all alone. And I think it can be lonely, and like we said, it's stressful and all these sorts of things. But having someone that you can trust, a mentor, someone that you can just run the ideas by or take a stress away, I think that's really important. And I think it is important to say that you don't have to be alone. And I think that sometimes it's knowing who believes in you is a difficult thing as well. Who we kind of mentioned off air as well, that when you're from a place where not a lot of your friends are doing what you're doing, and it's not normal in your social circles to do this, it's good to have someone that you can lean on, talk to, and it's important to do that as well, because it is. I went a bit crazy because I kind of felt like I've got all these ideas. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to process them or make them real. So having a mentor, someone you trust, is a really, really important and a tool that you should use quite a lot, I feel.
I've also got a business coach that I've worked with since lockdown, actually. Hired a business coach in lockdown and had no money. So bouncing off of him, he works with gym owners like me. And the network I've built in the last 7 years working with FMA, or a marketing company as well, that specialise in fitness industry. I've got a lot of gym owners I'm connected to around the UK and Ireland. And some of these guys are multiple facilities way ahead of me, so I can always call on them as well for ideas and like any advice. So that's been really useful.
It's good to, like I say, have those people, but it's also good to have people that you trust internally as well.
Yeah.
I know that the team that you've got, we've kind of touched on that. Moving to Site 2, you've got a team that you trust to keep that culture, that ethos, that approach across both, because it is difficult to, whether you're running a restaurant, whether you're got a gym, whatever it may be, to keep those standards, to keep your customers, your clientele, whatever it may be, happy and experiencing what you'd want to experience. You can't be everywhere.
No.
So trusting your team to do that. How have you found being able to trust people? Not because you don't trust them, but I struggle to step away. I'm a bit of a control freak. What's that process been like from Site 1 and now to Site 2?
It's difficult. It's difficult because I'm the same. Like, I can be a bit of a control freak. I want to make sure everything's done to a certain level. But like the conversation I had with my business coach this morning was like, you can't be the same Gavin that you've been with Site 1. You're becoming a new Gavin now because you got 2 sites now. You're a multi-site operator. And for that to be successful, you have to let your guys make mistakes. They're going to. I make mistakes every day. So, of course, they're going to. But you got to let them do it. And at the same time, whilst letting them do that, you've also still got to drive how important it is to keep the standards that we've had at Site 1 into Site 2, because we can't launch a second site and then let things dip off at Site 1. That can't happen. So that culture and bringing people on and onboarding the new guys the way we have, that's been really, really good. Like the best we've ever done with any of our team, with that in mind, because we are very backs against the wall type mentality where someone might come in and build a gym and take all of our clients away. That's our mentality. Yeah. So we need to make sure our standards are constantly improving, because that could happen one day.
Yeah, someone told me once that if you're not always paranoid, then you're probably not doing it right. You need to be paranoid.
You're getting too comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. So we touched on at the start, you said that your recruitment process, there kind of wasn't one. It was kind
initially, no.
Yeah. What's that look like now? How have you sort of created that to be able to get the right people that you feel you can onboard them right and push forward?
So we've ran a few interview days in the last 4 years now, where we basically, the process is we put ads out on the usual, like Indeed and places like that. We also put stuff out on social media, because obviously a lot of coaches follow us, and we'll get them to send in a video on why we should hire them, 2-minute video. And then we run an interview day where pretty high pressured for the coaches coming in, pretty full on. They'll come in. I think we had about 15 on this last one, which is the most we've ever had. They'll pair up. We'll introduce ourselves. They'll pair up and we'll go, right, you're PTing each other. Off you go. Music on. We don't tell them anything else. Away you go.
Wow.
So it's high pressure.
I'm nervous for it now.
It is a nervous situation, and it is like we're literally trying to see how they act under pressure. And we can tell, like, even if they're nervous and they make mistakes, you can tell who can coach and who can't. And then there's the usual sort of interview process. It's very relaxed, to be honest. It's not, I don't come from a corporate background, so I've never really had an interview like that. So I wouldn't even know how to run one. So it's very the GWD way of interviewing, which is sit there, ask some questions, and you can get a feel for someone very relatively quickly, I'd say.
Yeah.
And like one of my hiring processes is, could I go for a beer with them? Like, are they going to be able to fit in with the team, and because they're going to spend a lot of time with each other? Are they someone that's going to be able to fit in with the team and sit with them for 8 hours a day or whatever? And generally, if they can coach and they're a good person, that ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah,
and the team.
I think it's really important because you are a close team. You can see that you talk. You can see that you guys get on. And it's difficult if you've got someone that doesn't get on with people. You've got to have that fit, and you definitely. It's very clear you have a culture. You have a team feel. You've got a culture. So that interview day, it sounds intense and it sounds awful to me because I just wouldn't know where to start. Obviously, that's not my space at all. But it's hands-on. You're seeing what you're getting, and I think that it's very clear in doing that you're not just trying to find someone that fits your team. It's people that you feel comfortable to. I guess you want to be able to say that they're as good as me in front of doing a PT session, or like you're comfortable that they're good at what they do, and it's not for you. It's not so you can get along with them. It's so that the members can get the best service, right?
Yeah, I think with coaching, like if they're qualified, that's obviously you need to be qualified. But if they're a good person and they fit within the culture of what we're trying to do, we can develop them into being a very good coach. So it's more for us, like, yes, you got to be able to coach because otherwise you're not going to be in this industry. But do we see something in them where we know we can develop them to be a really good coach, a great coach? Are they a good person? Is probably higher up than how good they are as a coach.
Yeah, you can work with good people, can't you? You can help.
Yeah, do they fit within our culture? Yes, tick. And the rest we can develop. We can, because they're going to be of a good standard anyway to have come for the interview day. And we know we can help them be.
A 2-minute video
better.
is a tough thing to do in itself as well.
Yeah, it's pressure. A lot of our guys, before they joined us, they've never done any sort of video stuff. And like we throw them into the deep end. That's part of the interview. Are you comfortable being on camera? Because that's a big part of what we do. Like we spoke off camera earlier, people want to see behind the coach, behind GWD. What are the team like? What's the energy like? The culture like between everyone? And I think we've started showing that a lot more in our socials now. Yeah,
I was going to sort of lead on to, you mentioned that the people that came for interview follow you on socials. I don't know of a gym that does socials as much as you guys do. Talk to me about why you went through that route of posting a lot. You go through a lot of your posts cover a lot of spectrums of stuff, from technique to getting to know people to what's going on live in the gym today. Why did you decide to go down that route, and what have you seen from doing it that way?
I guess content is king now. People want to see what's going on. People a lot of the time they want to see video content. And with the stories, like for us, that's like we're trying to give people an idea of what goes on in the gym, and almost like a goldfish, like peering through, see what's going on. Like, so we're trying to show them a highlight reel of what happens in the gym day to day. And if we're not in people's minds from putting out content, then they might be going elsewhere. So it's like we want to be omnipresent.
Yeah.
We want you to think about us when you're going to come and join a coaching facility if you're local to us. So putting out good content, engaging content, we try to. Not always technique stuff, some funny stuff in there. And I guess like we're trying to be the best we can be. We're constantly trying to evolve and improve that as well. So yeah, it just requires putting out a lot of content, and the team are very good at it, to be fair.
You've got to get people that want to buy into doing it, because you can see it's quite easy to see content that's forced and people are uncomfortable doing it. But when you see good content, you gauge from, I mean, I'll speak from experience. I think I found you because someone reshared one of your stories, and then my wife saw it, she showed me, I went on your first thing Instagram, looked through loads of videos, and then I sort of contacted online. But you can feel that energy through socials. Do you feel, what's the sort of exact conversion rates, but do you feel like you get most of people that approach you and join you through socials?
I would say a lot of our like organic guys come through seeing our Instagram stories. So they watch it, they see the energy, because that's like one of the sort of directives we give to the team is like capture the energy of the session, because people want to see that, they want to be a part of it. But we also run like Facebook ads and things like that as well. But yeah, I would say most of our organic stuff, people are watching our Instagram. Yeah,
I just don't like it when I'm on it and everyone's doing heavier weights and I'm there just with my little weedy arms trying to do a bench press. But apart from that, I like it. So we kind of touched on this, but I think it's always a good question to ask. Next 5 years, what is the dream plan? I know you've kind of you said 10 in 10 years. We're at 2 in 4. What's the next 5 look like?
We'll definitely have 4 sites. 5 from now, you mean?
5 years from now, yeah.
Oh, okay. I reckon we'd have 5 or 6 sites, if I'm being honest.
Nice.
Depends, obviously. I could say that and it could all go.
But that's the plan. That's where you'd like to be.
If site 2 goes how we think it's going to go, then site 3 won't be far behind. Like, there's not enough time. I'll say this all the time. Like, don't have much time left. Need to move faster.
Yeah.
And not at the cost of quality or cutting corners and stuff like that, but I could have opened a second site before that I have.
You just weren't ready, wasn't the right time?
No, I was half-arsed looking, if I'm honest. I was looking for a site, and there was a lot of period where like there's just nothing. It's hard to find the right type of space. And then it was like my business coach put me under pressure and said, you need to find one by the end of the year. And I found one. So it's amazing what happens when you have to, when you're under pressure. Yeah, I looked in an area, I wasn't even looking in that area at all. I opened my sort of expansion or like my area where I was wasn't looking in that area, and I found a site straight away. So we've got some areas where we know we'll eventually put one. It's just when the right space comes up. Now, if the right space came up and it wasn't quite time for me to do it, I'd probably do it, because you might not get the opportunity again. Yeah. So I'll find a way to do it.
So imagine we're not talking to a gym owner, because what we don't want to do is encourage anyone to open a new gym right next to you. But what if you could give, I don't like saying what advice would you give yourself, because I think that you wouldn't be in the position you're in now if you didn't make mistakes and you didn't do these things. But if someone's in a position where they want to give it a go, they want to start a business, they want to take that leap, that big, scary leap, what would be, from your learnings, your experience, what little snippets of advice would you give in doing that?
This might be a little bit too sort of full on, but it's like, just do it. Because so many people have regrets and they wish they would have tried something. And it's like, the worst that will happen is it will fail. Yeah. It will fail. You'll go back to your normal job. Like, life will not end. You'll still be alive. You'll still be healthy, hopefully. Like, so many people put things off because of fear of failure, where failure is part of the process, I believe. Like, if you're not failing, you're probably not pushing hard enough. You need to be failing at some things. Now, that doesn't mean going out of business. You might fail on a micro level. Yeah. But I just feel that people wait for perfection, and it doesn't exist. They wait for the perfect moment. We hear it all the time with people joining the gym. I'm just going to wait until I'm not as busy at work. I'm just going to wait until I get this holiday out the way. I'm just going to wait until insert next thing. And they're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And 5 years go by and they've done nothing. So, like, that might be like quite an extreme end of the spectrum, but what have you got to lose?
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think when I started out, my dad sort of said to me, the worst case scenario is you fail, the business doesn't work, but how much would you learn? What experience would you have? And you put it on your CV, you're a business owner for 2 years. That takes some balls, that takes some courage. And it's one of those kind of old Chinese things, but the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. So you could always think about not just going and not going. And there's always not enough money in the bank in case, or there's always not enough of this, there's always not enough of that, and there's always 1,000 reasons not to do it. But like you say, you don't want to look back in 5 years and think, oh, I wish I just did it.
When you speak to people on their deathbed, like people who've lived a long life, like I can't remember what the study was, but they were asking people who are in care homes and they were sound mind, what was your biggest, like, what do you wish you'd done? Oh, I wish I'd done this when I was younger. I wish I'd done this. Like, I don't want to get to that point and just like have regrets. Of course we're going to have regrets. You're going to have some. But I don't want to not push as hard as I can while I'm able to, because one day you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I just try and have that mentality with everything. And like my wife sometimes says to me, you're not like fearful of things going wrong. And of course I have them moments where I'm worried, because now I've got more to lose than I had for the first site. Got a wife, got a young baby, building a future for them, hopefully. And I've got 10 employees that I've got to worry about and make sure we've got a business so they can provide for their lives. Like, there is more risk, but life without risk, what is that? Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, you'd rather sit there and think you'd rather review all the risks that you took than all the risks that you didn't take. What's the point of doing stuff if you're just not going to try and push yourself and do it?
You've got to try. Just be realistic as well, though, because whatever you think is going to cost, if you're doing what I'm doing building-wise and fitting out, it's going to cost more than what you think. Yeah. Guarantee it.
It's like watching Grand Designs, isn't it? They always say, I've got a budget of 200 grand.
When have you ever
like
seen them hit the budget?
Yeah.
Never.
It never happens.
And the guy who presents it always seems quite happy with that.
Yeah. There's always a smug where there were 20 grand over budget.
You've doubled your budget.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not ashamed to say that I like being around people that inspire me. I think that it's important to do that.
Definitely.
Watching what you've done, I've kind of learned, I've always thought that I think being a business owner, right? People just assume that you come from money, or you've done this or you've done that. Scratching the surface, you've told, like I've seen a podcast and I've learned that wasn't the case for you.
No.
You've kind of given it a go. You've gone for it. You've learned a lot. You've been very vulnerable and open about the fact that you've learned a lot and you were naive. And being around people that do that, in the gym, outside of the gym, it's just inspires me to do more. The whole reason of starting this was thinking, who would I want to talk to? Who would I want to have a podcast and talk to? And people like you are the type of people I want to talk to, people that you can see want to be honest, want to drive forward. They're not ashamed to say they're driving forward. And I think that needs to be encouraged more. I think that it's tough, it's stressful, it's this, it's that. But just to be who you can be, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true.
Most things that are true are cheesy.
Yeah.
You got to give it a go.
Yeah.
Like you said, I've not had any handouts or anything like that. I've took risks, and like you said earlier, your dad said to you, what is the worst that can happen? When we think of the worst that can happen, it's never going to be the worst that can happen. Let's be honest. If you're putting the work in and the effort in, generally what we think is the worst that can happen won't happen. You're somewhere in between that. So my aim is to make sure the worst never happens and I'm up towards the best that can happen. Yeah. Because you're probably not going to have the best that can happen either.
No,
it's probably going to be somewhere in between it.
And I think someone once said to me that if you do these things and you give it a go, the chances are you won't fail. You just have to pivot. It's probably, like you say, it's not going to be what you dreamed it's going to be, but it might be somewhere in between of failing and, like you just said, but you probably won't get it to a point where you allow it to fail.
No.
You'll just pivot, you'll adjust, and it might, my business is nowhere near what I thought it was going to be when I started it out. And I'm sure the gym or where you are now isn't exactly where you started out and thought it was going to be.
No, but there is a flip side to that. And if I look back from 10 years ago, from where to what we are now, I never thought I'd ever get there. So your mind is constantly evolving. So where I am now as 2-site owner, 5 years ago, I didn't even have a gym. And I never thought, it wasn't even on my horizon to have maybe just over 5 years ago, till I'd found that space. And now I'm about to open a second gym with a really good team in place, with systems in place that I didn't even have and never existed in my mind. So each time you're opening up your mind to new capabilities. So where my failure line is now is way above where I thought I would ever be.
Yeah.
So there's a flip side to both.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Generally, one of the things my business coach says to me quite a lot is things are never as good as they seem and things are never as bad as they seem. They're always somewhere in the middle. So like when you're in that moment of feeling like, oh my God, I'm so stressed for opening a second site and sales are not going as they should be, on an average of the year, generally, they're never that bad.
Yeah.
And they're never that good. They're somewhere in the middle, in between.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it, because I think humans are designed to go worst case scenario, aren't they?
Always, yeah.
But you can always think of 5 bad things as opposed to one good thing. That's just how we exist. It's probably how we've survived. But yeah, it's getting out of that mindset and always wanting to be taking risks and giving that review on your deathbed the best it can be. I think it was Jimmy Carr or someone that said, no, it was like Goggins. What's his name? David Goggins. He said, when I die and wherever I go, there can be a list of all the things that I could have done or a list of all the things that I have done. And if the list is longer of things I have done than the things I could have done, I'm happy. But if I got there and I thought, all this you had the potential to be, this massive list of, he does crazy stuff, ultra marathons and all stuff that I can't even comprehend. But if the list is longer of stuff I've done and could have done, I'm happy. And I think that's something that sits in my head. Could I do this? Or is it going to be on the list of things that I could have and didn't do? And obviously, who knows? Maybe I do there is a day that I have a review of that list. We don't know. But yeah, I think it's a good way of challenging yourself a little bit. And that's part of the battle, just challenging yourself every day to do what you think is the best thing to do and what you can do and what you can achieve. Because to your point, I didn't think I'd be able to run a business. I didn't think I'd be able to do what I'm doing. But somehow I'm getting through it every day and trying to push to the next.
And look, I've spoke to some very, very successful business owners. Like, I'm connected with some that have multiple businesses turning over 8 figures, like 8-figure businesses combined. And they're in the same boat. Like, a lot of them are winging it. They bring team members in and then they learn more and then they go up to the next level. And, you know, they're bringing people around them that are more skilled than them. Yeah. At certain roles, which is the job as a business owner. You want to be almost the dumbest person in the room in some respects. Yeah. But they're still winging it. They just have a much better team in place now.
And they're better at, more experience in winging it, I think is what happens.
Yeah, you keep winging it until you can't wing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 5 years' time, we're having this conversation. You'll be back on the podcast and you'll have 4, 5, 6 sites. And
hopefully, if things go well, like all being well, like who knows what's around the corner, but I think you've got to have goals in there to try and achieve. Now, that may change in a few years. Who knows? I might completely focus on something else and, you know, I'm not going to hold myself to it, but I do want to build a legacy with GWD. I don't just want to stop at 2.
And I bet when you have these the days that the events that you run and things like that, when you've got the music playing and everyone's doing all this stuff, you must sit back and you must be very proud of what you've achieved.
I am, but I'm very guilty of not reflecting enough.
Right.
Because sometimes you just, like, entrepreneur's curse is like looking at the next thing. Like, let's go, next thing, and you don't have time to reflect. And I have people say to me, oh my God, you must be well proud of what you've achieved. And then when they say it to me, I'll go, yeah, I am actually, but I don't do it enough. Yeah. I think it is an entrepreneur's curse in some respects. Yeah. Because you are never quite happy with what's going on because you're looking for the next thing because you're trying to build something. Yeah. And I hear that quite a lot from guys who are trying to build a business. Like, they don't settle, they don't reflect enough, even though they are proud, and I am definitely proud, very proud of what I've achieved and the team. But yeah, maybe I should do that more.
Yeah, I think when I came, I wasn't part of it. I was on babysitting duty for the day. But when I came to the back end in the summer and watched all this going on, there's music and everyone's eating pizza and you could just see this kind of community there, I thought, I'm proud to be part of this gym, let alone the one that imagined this gym happening. So, yeah, I think not that my advice is needed to you, but reflect and just be proud of that, because I was proud to see it and it wasn't me that thought of it. And I just saw you on the day. You were still buzzing around doing stuff, not really stopping.
We do hear it from members quite a lot. Say, like, amazing what you've achieved and what you've done. And we love the gym. It's impacted us, changed our life. That's, for me, like that's the legacy.
Yeah.
When you know you've had an impact on someone's life, and you know we've got nearly 300 members at Site 1. Like if we got 10 of them, that's impacting thousands of people every month. That's leaving a legacy, I believe.
And it's a direct impact to health, isn't it? It's in what you're doing. It sounds obvious and sounds a bit silly, but if you're changing someone's life, that's health. And it's like I said, knock-on effect. When I'm going to the gym, I'm talking to my brother or my mum, and they're thinking, oh, I should go to the gym. Maybe not. It might necessarily be the same gym, but it's, well, he's going to the gym every morning. I see it pop up on my Apple Watch that he went to the gym at 6 this morning. I feel like I need to do that. And you might, yeah, it's 300 people, but like I say, you're affecting more.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more than 300 because you've got their families, their work colleagues, their friends. Like generally, you're going to be a nicer person to be around. You're going to be healthier for your kids. Like one of the things we hear all the time is people have more energy to play with their kids, and you'll be surprised how many people don't, because they just don't have the energy to do so. So the impact on the trajectory of the kid's life and anyone close to them is massive. Yeah. We're doing something really, I believe, obviously, clearly, we're doing something really important, like for people's lives and people around them.
I think that's a really good message, and I think that, like you said at the start, it's not about money, it's about having a legacy, and I think that's a really nice thing to believe in and be part of. And like I say, I joined the gym and wanted to do it more because I've got a son and I want to be able to play with him. I want to be around him as long as I want. When I'm 50 and he wants to go kick a ball at the park or do whatever he wants to do, a Tough Mudder or whatever, I want to be able to go and do it with him.
Same.
And that's kind of my motivation. So it's a nice place to be. I think you've built something great, and I'm personally looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for answering all my questions.
Thanks for inviting me to be the first guest.
Yeah,
honoured.
It's exciting. It's exciting, and I felt like I was the perfect person to kick it all off. So
thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
Appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Top man.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.